Hey Dale, it's Alicia. So I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about the ZigZagger situation with you. So this is the ZigZagger that I had bought, that I had messaged you about. I actually found the piece in the box, but I'll just show you a comparison between the two. This particular ZigZagger has this piece right here, which is this little black piece. And this is what I ended up finding in the box. So there's probably a good chance that it could pop off again. And because of that, I have my personal ZigZagger here that does not have that particular one. And this is the one that I am going to send with you if you still want the ZigZagger. It is $50. And you won't have to worry about that coming off. So let me go over some of the parts of the ZigZagger. So this is the inside of the ZigZagger itself. These mechanisms in here is what's going to need to be oiled. The oiling points are in your manual, and here's the manual. They're in the back part of the manual, so that will be in the box with you. But generally speaking, on anything where the two pieces of metal are touching is really where you're going to want to oil. These 2 points up here are also oiling points. And if you look at it going this way, don't mind my cat, he's going ballistic in the background because he's got a catnip problem. Anyways, so there's this backwards or upside down L-shape mechanism here, and then there's this part here that I always often call the duck beak because it looks like a beak that's open. Straight needle is the type of ZigZagger because there's a couple of these out on the market. So the straight needle is what it is that you want to look for when you're shopping for a featherweight. Slant needle is not going to fit on this machine. So when we're looking at it, we want to place the duck beak on top of where the needle actually screws into this little portion right here. Thing to note, when you're maneuvering the ZigZagger onto the shaft of the machine, be careful that you don't hit this too many times because it can loosen the needle, and then when you go to sew, the needle will pop out at you. I know this because it happened to me. So the cams look like this. This is the top. This is the red set number 1. And if we turn the cam over, a drop of oil goes here, not in the middle, but on the outer portion of the cam. So right in here, and then you can see the oil residue from where I had oiled them earlier. Inside of the shaft, if you look here, you're going to see 2 notches, one at the top, one at the bottom, or on the side, depending on which way you hold it. And if you look at the inside of the ZigZagger, it's also going to go, it's also got some indentations there. So you're just going to line those notches up with each other, and it should slide straight down into the ZigZagger. Helps if I'm not holding it down. Hold on. Oh, there we go. So it just kind of clicks into place, and you can give it a few turns when it's on your machine to make sure that it's in there. When you attach it to your machine, so I'm going to try to put this as dead on as my tripod will allow me to go. You're going to hold it towards the back of the machine, and this backwards L is going to go on this shaft here where your presser foot would go, and then the duck beak will go on this needle clamp. So it's kind of finagling. It's going to go on the duck beak and around that shaft. So you kind of, I always put this duck beak in the utmost position, and you just want to be careful when you're finagling it so you're not scratching the paint or what have you. And then it will slide right in there. And then you're going to line this outer screw up with the screw where you normally screw in your presser foot. So it might take me a minute. I'm going to move the camera back just a ways so that way I can kind of get in there and make sure that the screw is lining up where it needs to be. This is the second. Hang on. Like I said, it takes a little bit of finagling, but once you get it on there, the fun can start. So there we go. It is on there. Okay, so then your ZigZagger is just going to sit just like that, and you've got your cam in place. Inside the manual, it actually has what you want to set everything to. So you're familiar with the stitch length regulator, which is over here on the machine. And then if you look over here, you're gonna see this metal little slider thing. And if I unscrew this to loosen it, there is etched a W, an M, and an N. There's also a notch up here on the actual ZigZagger. So N stands for narrow, M stands for medium, and W stands for wide. And that is just going to be how your zigzag is going to turn out. So this is more narrow, this is wider. It's just that stitch is, you know, wider out there. So for this particular one, it is just a regular zigzag stitch. And so when you pull that up in the manual, you can see it here. Almost 0 stitch setting, 25. So the narrow bite portion, the N, M, and W is referring to the N, M, and W on the ZigZagger setting. The number stitch setting there is what is referred to on the machine. So to do this particular one, why don't we set it to medium, and we're going to set the stitch length regulator to around 25. So I'm just going to move this to M, and then I'm going to tighten it. Like I said, it's hard to see, but there's a little notch here, and so you'll just line that M up with that. And then over here's the stitch length regulator, and I believe it said 25. So we're just going to maneuver it up and go ahead and spin this little guy in place. And then we'll just sit that down there. And then when I do these demonstrations, I always place a piece of fabric with a piece of stabilizer, just because it is technically a decorative stitch. And on the modern machines, they tell you to use stabilizer. So since the fabric is thin that I use for just these touch stitches, I feel like the stabilizer is really going to help with that. So then you're going to go ahead and lift your presser foot down, and you are ready to go. So let's go ahead and get started. Oh dear. And my thread came out of place. No big deal. Just going to go ahead and put that back through the loop. That sometimes happens when you are messing with the ZigZagger, so I don't have enough thread out there. Okay, and I'm actually just going to hold that down until it starts going. Lift that up. I'm going to go ahead and cut and cut. And there is your zigzag stitch. And let's go ahead and change this. We'll do one more. I don't want to make the video too long. So this is the domino pattern. And I'm I'm just gonna set it really quickly to what the manual says. Like I said, I don't want to make it super duper long. So we're gonna go ahead and set this one to W, and then we're gonna set it to number 30, which isn't too far off than what we were doing. Oops. Sometimes hard to get it out from underneath there. And there is the domino stitch. So I'm going to leave it at this, and if you have additional questions, don't hesitate to ask.